All right, I'm starting the timer. And 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome to Destination Never Here, the podcast where we preach authenticity and vulnerability. And what better people to have than the Imron family from the Imron Corporation? And center stage is Olivia, the future of prevention, whether her parents want her to be or not. I think it's her destiny. Pretty excited about it. We've got her mom and dad here to make sure this goes well. And if any one of you have seen this podcast in the past, or you look at any of the ones in the future, you'll know that one thing is for certain. We try to keep it as goofy as possible, but as genuine. So, welcome, family. I'm going to have you all introduce yourself, please, and I'll leave it to you. Imran?
My name's Imron Hussain. I am the president of Imron Corporation and proud member of the Active Shooter Prevention Project.
Whoop, whoop. All right.
Oh, okay. I'll go next then. All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
So I'm Fawzia Atcha. I'm the VP at Imron Corporation, also a member of the Active Shooter Prevention Project. And last but certainly not least, and we saved the best for last, I should say, it's Olivia.
Hi, my name's Olivia Imron. I'm the daughter of Fawzia and Imron. I help part-time with Imron Corporation as well as the things we do with our security and safety summits and love to help with anything for the Active Shooter Prevention Project.
So everyone knows they all have quality shirts. They're card carrying members. Um, Imran and Fawzi are very humble, but they're actually on our leadership team. They help guide the future of not just the Active Shooter Prevention Project, but of now, as of today, 30 companies that are part of the Active Shooter Prevention Project. We now have 240 members within our community and an enormous amount of support as well as executive leadership. So really, this is my way of saying thank you to you guys. I think we're gifted and honored by your presence, and I mean that. Everybody that doesn't know, Imran and I share ice cream every time we're together in California or elsewhere. So it's a family tradition, if you will. They're stuck with me as part of the family. But we're going to kick this off. I've never done a three-person panel podcast. We've had a couple on before, two at a time, but this is going to be an exceptional amount of fun. And I really want to lay the foundation here. Olivia is exceptionally humble too. She is the only person in my 35 years of professional speaking that I've ever shared the stage with. Not because I'm a stage hog, just I didn't know how to have anybody come on stage and share, to be honest. And when I went to her parents on screen there with this wild idea that says, hey, would it be okay? And then they came back to me and said, not only is it okay, but what about this? It went this whole crazy direction of bigger, better, faster. And I can't wait for everybody to hear what she has to say today. So we're gonna ask some really candid questions. Ma and Pa, if there's anything in there that you don't want to answer, just feel free to give her the nudge or text me and I'll shut up quickly. But you know me, I'm pretty good with that. So I wanted to level set where we're at and why we're here today. And I wanted to give you a couple minutes to talk about Imran Corporation. We'll talk about the family. But how did you get started, Imran, where you're at? You have your bride, your daughter, here they are, and they're not off limits. Can't wait to ask them questions. But how did you get to where you are today doing what you're doing?
Um, it's been a long journey. We've been in business for about 28 years. Started out developing software for access control systems. So access control systems are the systems that manage where people can go into a facility. And so one of the first projects we did as Imron Corporation was for DARPA and the Pentagon. And we did a lot of government projects. We did a lot of OEM projects where we allowed manufacturers to private label our software. Now that business model has evolved to where we have our own dealer channel. We have our own sort of pathways to market where we're selling to system integrators who then in turn sell the product to end users. And in addition to doing access control, just how this has expanded, we integrate to video, we integrate to intrusion systems. So now we're trying to be that platform, that central platform, sort of that single pane of glass that does it all, brings everything together. We have over 10,000 customers from every vertical, schools, commercial high-rise buildings, government facilities, airports, hospitals. So, and primarily most of that is here in the United States. Even though we sell globally, I would say 95% of our customer base is here in the United States.
So I'm not sure about the global side because I don't remember my invitation showing up to travel with you anytime. But when it does, I'll believe you. And until then, we're going to take your word for it.
Okay.
All right, Mrs. Imron Corporation, Fawzia, please tell us how you ended up with the handsome man with no hair that goes to the same barber as I do.
Well, it started off no. So I had about 13 years of like after high school, went to school for like a very long road with academia and sciences, finish up my doctorate degree in molecular genetics. And I said I really enjoyed science, but I wanted to get my hands on business. And I'm like, okay, after 13 years, I don't know if I wanted to go into an MBA program and extend that whole academic route. I looked at Imron Corporation, what Imron had started at the time. And what I liked about what Imron does is, though he's an engineer by training, he has an ability to think outside of the box. And he doesn't carve himself into any little path or anything. He has a very open perspective with the things. And so I thought, hey, I can learn a lot more doing this than I can in an MBA program. And so I joined at the very bottom of Imron Corporation because I wanted to actually learn the industry because I wasn't very familiar with it. And so started Imron Corporation and have been there ever since. So I don't even know how many years, like over 2.5 decades. I lost count.
And what's your doctorate in, doctor?
So it's in molecular genetics. We looked at this transcription factor family that's been implicated in various cancers. So it's important for development, but it gets turned on in cancers. And we were looking at mechanisms. And what I found was naively, when I started my doctorate program, I thought I was going to cure cancer, but oh boy, there's so many questions to ask and to be answered, and it takes a very extensive, long period of time to do so. And so I learned very quickly that I wasn't going to cure cancer, but it's near and dear to my heart, and I love science. But again, business was also calling me.
As a survivor, I'm grateful for you. You said something at dinner to me one time. I don't remember when. It was 2 or 3 times ago, which could be a span of a few years, that you learned something about, it wasn't about the cure, it was about actually reverse of that. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Because you obviously could say it better than I can. You're the doctor, I'm not. But when you were in pursuit of a cure, you found that the way science and research works, that was not necessarily that you were naive, but more like an awakening that there wasn't a cure going forward. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think vaguely, but so finding cures, that's a difficult thing, just because the mechanism by which cancer starts, right? Like the origin and the different types of cancers. There's fundamentally so many different ways so many factors that attribute to cancer, right? And what I learned with science is, and why I said I was naive, was because it's such a vast field, like in every direction. And the thing about science is, it's not something and that then spans the end of time. It's constantly questioning. You have to prove yourself wrong more than right? So it's always questioning. And yeah. And you're not saying, hey, You're right. You're right. You have a hypothesis, and the whole point of science is to disprove it, not to prove it. Right? Like you have to take out the biases, and that's the whole thing with science. Like it's constantly changing, and you should always be asking questions, and you don't have definitive answers.
Nice. Yeah. I can tell everyone when you sit with a doctor with that type of degree, the conversation is definitely different. And just by sitting there, I was about 100 IQ points higher. So thank you so much for that. I mean,
Thank you for the conversation. You actually brought up, there was a lot of good points, and you opened up my mind in a lot of different ways. And actually, being a cancer survivor, and what you're doing, it's very impressive. So I commend that.
no, I don't know about all that, but thank you so much. And we're very grateful for you. It's people like you guys that make this place. So, how about the star of the hour? Come on, Olivia. You know that we tried to get out there and do this in person. I had this whole thing set up, like how we were going to do it. Ruben, who's behind the scenes, but he's on right now, had a great idea that we would like be in different rooms and show you behind the scenes of how we all come together as one and walking in the same room. It didn't work out that way because of the weather. However, we there's other opportunities. So the floor is yours, young lady. Tell us about Olivia. How did you get here?
So I was always someone who cared about like not only my own safety, but like the safety of others. Especially in elementary school and preschool, I was showing signs that, oh, when someone fell, I would say, oh, are you okay? Or do you need a band-aid? And obviously there's a lot more severe things that could happen than falling and scraping your knee. But at that time, I really started to care a lot more about like the well-being of others. And I would actually sit in this room that we're in right now, my dad's office, and he would be programming, and I would just like sit on the chair next to him and just watch him for like a few hours. And I'd ask him, "Oh, what does that do? What does this do?" And if there's something really mesmerizing of just watching him program, watching him. At that time, we didn't have our cloud product yet, but we had on-prem, and even that was just really cool to see. And then watching the product develop more and more into now we're on cloud. Now we have hundreds of thousands of customers everywhere around the world. And I feel like that growth and development was something else. And I mean, seeing growth in itself into something you put so much effort in is one thing, but then the cause that he's trying to create, saving people's lives and how can we make this world safer, I think truly resonated with me because, we're humans and we deserve a world where we can connect and interact, but also have that safety, have that insurance that, oh, when you go somewhere, you're going to be safe, or, oh, not having to worry as much about is there going to be a shooter or is there going to be a break-in, and having that assurance. And I think that connection or that cause was really really important. And I feel like that the security industry in itself is great, and I'm really happy that I get to be a part of such an amazing cause.
Boy, let me tell you something. I'm an old man right now. I just hope I can keep up the pace. So when you're running for president of the whole world, I can be some type involved, like a campaign manager, or just like, I'll carry your bags. I don't care, whatever it takes. But I mean, this is the future, everybody watching this. And if you don't know, now's probably a good time during the podcast Destination Ever Here, we don't commercialize this. We don't allow advertisers to come on. We probably get between 100 and 300,000 views. We don't turn on the clickers. When we do look at the counts, it looks like it's 19 to 200 to 2,000 sometimes because we use a rollover channel on YouTube because once you get so many counts, they start paying for advertising space. And I don't want this to be about advertising. So I just want to remind the audience about that. I definitely want to remind you guys about that because we're not capitalizing on this. I want to capitalize on socializing you into the world and telling them why you're such a big part of the Active Shooter Prevention Project, how I think we chose each other, um, the serendipitous nature of how Olivia ended up on stage outshining me on one, two, or three different occasions now. And you know what? I couldn't, I'm a girl dad, so I couldn't be happier. And watching her dad smile makes me smile. Watching her mom smile makes me smile better. And I don't know, it's a really fascinating thing to see. And to listen to you talk, I would ask, do you mind reminding the audience perhaps how old you are?
Yeah, so I'm 14. Uh,
Yeah, I hope
yeah.
everyone's still sitting, standing up, or what. Don't crash your cars because that's an amazing conversation from such a gifted young lady. So we're
Thank
very
you.
lucky to have you. And I watch you, talk about your dad and your mom and how you got here and how, we're on this show together here on stage at the stadiums. I see Allegiant Stadium in the background, where I think we're all going to in February.
February. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we'll be on stage together again. Um, it's so difficult for people to understand the challenge because when I get people on stage and I hand the mic over, not to co-share, but if I'm on a panel or if I'm opening up for somebody and I'll be the MC, or even if I follow them as the keynote, it's interesting to watch people how unnaturally uncomfortable they are because they say the fear of public speaking is the greatest fear there is. I've never felt, I don't know what that means. I've never been afraid of public speaking. It was a natural thing for me. And in all, I've told you this before, I've told your parents this, and it's so genuine, you can't make it up. I don't think I've ever met anybody that just says, "Hey, thanks, Chris," and moves on and says, "Get out of the way," and goes to, it's like a natural public speaker, but more importantly, a public speaker with something to say. And that is so rare. And I'm not even that good at it after all 35 years, but you are. And I think you keep building on that, and you're going to be a rock star when it comes to whatever discipline you go, whether it's security, taking care of people, molecular biology, or coder, or maybe you own, you know, Imron squared. I don't know. But something that your parents are going to root for you to do that's going to outshine and outlast all of us. So everybody, I just can't tell you how excited I am. If you can see me, I'm, chuckling because I have a picture of my daughter on the wall, just like we're all family here. So very grateful again. Imran, as we move forward, do you want to add anything as a dad? Like now's a good time, you know, give you a little prompt, buddy.
Um, I think I'd like to add about our security and safety summits. We started those about 2.5 years, and what prompted this whole initiative was Olivia. When she came home from school, I think she was in kindergarten. She came home from school crying, and I was asking her, "Well, what's wrong? What happened?" And she just asked me this weird question. She said, "Why would a kid shoot another kid?" And I just thought that was the weirdest thing. I didn't know if they were playing video games or whatever. And I found out that the school did an active shooter drill. And schools do active shooter drills across the country. And that doesn't sit too well with me. Just, I love America. I believe we live in the greatest country in the world. And, when I grew up in Southern California, we did earthquake drills. We didn't do active shooter drills. And that's something that I am committed to solving. I don't think our kids should grow up with this fear of, hey, what's going to happen? So being in the security industry, knowing all these, technology partners who provide solutions, and even with our own access control product, we've got a lockdown feature. Constantly I'm being asked about lockdown and whenever we're securing a campus or a school. But that's after the fact. That's after the threat's already there on campus. And that's where I realized technology alone can't solve this. And you need a holistic approach. You need to, get everybody together. And that's what we're trying to do with these summits. And I think that's when I reached out to you. I think we met through a mutual friend, Scott Sorecki, and
We did.
uh, and the rest is history.
Scott's a great dude. I can't wait to have him on, as a matter of fact, which I think he's up maybe next or the time after. So look forward to that podcast ahead. But no, you're right. I remember the phone call, and then I can probably tell you we were planning. It was at Indianapolis at the Colts. That was the
Right.
first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a whole production, man. We brought a whole crew in and you had a crew and I couldn't believe the amount of vendors you brought in, and this security summit has often been, replicated, never duplicated, right? I mean, people, imitation is the best form of flattery, I think. And to watch people try to mimic it, I look at it as growth. Our industry, and we'll talk to the good doctor here in a minute, but our industry is so, because this was part of our conversation at another dinner, convoluted, if you will. And it
Yeah.
was at MetLife Stadium that Fawzia and I talked about this, which was at dinner after that summit. And we were speaking about, it's not just a boutique industry, because that's kind of cavalier to say, well, it's boutique and there's a lot of providers and one hit wonders that come and go and the people that show up and leave. And then I got to talking to her about the people that are actually committed, we want to invite in. And I think what separates us, and you guys helped me figure this out. I know you didn't make the meeting in Houston this year because we couldn't get any extra letters from the FBI to get Olivia out of school.
Right.
So next year we're going to go to the CIA and get her a letter. Don't worry, we're going to get her to that summit. But I think I'm speaking to the NSA next month. I'll get a letter from them. Okay, I'll tell them that's a form of payment. Don't worry, Mom. It's no such agency. They don't exist. Um, you know, when we were talking though about the the true genuine nature of the people that are in this for the right reason, and I remember, I don't know how personal we're going to get, but what the heck, we're here. And if you want it cut out, I promise we'll cut this out. Ruben, mark the time. I've got 23:35, but we were eating a pretzel. Remember this whole thing of the pretzel at the table and we ended up getting two of them?
Mhm.
This, yeah, I have a goofy memory, but this memory is embedded. I mean, it's more than planted. And we were talking about, it opened my eyes to say, okay, even the people that are not, I'm not necessarily saying disingenuous. What I'm saying is they might be profiteers of the industry. And the industry really is at its core to save children. And I remember saying, who am I to be a gatekeeper of that industry? I might be, one of the grand old men of this founding principle of prevention, but why would I gate anybody from trying to come into that? And I reach out to as many people as possible. And backing up to Houston on September 11th and 12th, Imron and Olivia showed up on video and talked to the group that was there. It was an early Sunday morning, but we invited the entire world to come to our summit. I'm sorry, our corporate meeting for an hour and a half. And we had an open Zoom call. And I credit Glenn Norling with this whole thing. I mean, I came up with the idea because that's usually me, where I'm like, wake up one day and they all have a joke about me called the GIF, the GIF. I'm the good idea fairy. And I woke up one day with this great idea and I called Glenn. I said, hey, buddy, can we make this happen? He goes, I don't think we should do that. And I think you're crazy. I said, well, we all know that already, so it's okay. And we had this like really cool idea that we're going to open up the mic, and he called the General Glazier, who in turn called General Connor, who in turn called Dan Zielinski, I mean, we had this whole wheel going, this telephone tree, and everybody came back. Chris, I mean, maybe you don't understand how business works. And it was a compliment to me. I was like, yeah, right on. And because it's the mission. And I remember, I don't think I've even told you guys this story. I remember saying to them on the phone, who am I to gate anybody from this thing? We're solution oriented. Let the
Right.
public make its own decision. This is a $4.4 billion industry per year, and it's only growing. The new numbers in the New York Times are like 5 point something. I'm afraid to even say it at the next summit in February, but it's like 5.7 billion this year. And the forecast upside, the growth from like the path to 2030 is somewhere obnoxious. It's like $20 billion. So, do you want to capture some of that money? Sure, because we want to provide good lives for our families and, our future and legacy. But think of the impact we have on the future and how uncomfortable it is to talk to children about this. And Imran, you hit it on the head, right? Some schools do drills and some don't. And does anybody here remember how many different drill schools teach across the country? Olivia, pop quiz.
Hmm.
Do you remember at all?
There's like there's
Tell me what
over 1,000, I believe.
Yeah, so they're all over the place from around the world, but there's 22 specific different things that they teach across the country of what to do during an active shooter. Not one of those, Fozzie, says what to do, how to not have an active shooter.
Hmm.
And when I asked this new question in the summits, which you're going to hear me ask in February, I got a big surprise for everybody attending. I can't wait to share it with you. But they'll be, texting in their responses in real time. We'll get to see it all. And my question in return is going to be, it's funny, I don't see on, because I've tried this a few times, no one's ever answered. What's the best thing to do during an active shooter? And I'm waiting for someone to type in, not have one. And that is such a mind switch. So do you remember that conversation over our pretzel, Fozzie, or no? Do you remember any part of that or a little
I
bit?
remember the pretzel. Yes,
Because it was
that pretzel.
amazing.
I don't think I've seen a pretzel that big before, but yeah, that was something. But yeah, I do remember, yeah, uh, talking about that over the pretzel.
And I think it was enlightening, right? So this obviously this show is about you guys. Everybody knows. I say everybody knows who I am, which is probably unfortunate for everybody. But this platform is really to open up and let everyone know why we're here. I think you guys have done a fantastic job on that mission. We've aligned and adjoined to make this, a bigger, better vision. It is a technology and beyond summit for security, physical security, and other. And there are businesses out there that attend that are your marquee presenters that have been there, sometimes go, sometimes don't. A lot of them belong to the Active Shooter Prevention Project. And when I say belong, I mean as a community member. They're their own independent company. Some are, others, are other stories. However, while we are in business, we're in the business of making tomorrow better. And I always look at the history of past mistakes. And, you know, um, in 2011, I was in an active shooter in 2010, as everyone knows. But in 2011, I think we're trying to remember when my daughter was in high school. Might have been 2013, because she's class of 2015. She came home and said, "Hey, we had a incident where we were all locked down. Somebody came to school with an AK-47." They said, well, there was no AK-47, but in my mind, it was as real. It might as well have been an AK-47, right? I mean, I was scared to death. And I remember being mad. I mean, like viscerally mad. And this prevention thing wasn't even a thought. It was, prevention is through response. So I'm interested to know, like, when Olivia comes home and for crying and dad's finding out what's happening and everybody's upset. How'd you think, mom? Like, what do from a motherly point of view, all of a sudden you have this information. How did you process that? Especially as an academic, based in research. Everything's based in research. What was your first thought about that?
It was a new experience for me, right? Because again, the active shooter drills, like it didn't dawn on me that that was like that was so prevalent, and it's prevalent because it's needed, and it's needed because there's a problem. And when Olivia expressed her concerns and she was crying about it. It was difficult. Like, why would that concept even have to be introduced to a child at that grade level, right? Like, why should that even be there? Why should there even be a conversation to these young kids about that in the first place? To the so I guess the fact that there needed to be like the teachers had to tell the kids about it clearly illustrates that there's a prevalence of this problem, not in one location, but nationally. And the fact that kids that young need to hear about it, that was concerning.
Wow. This is, obvious. I'm coming to Olivia here with this one, but a quick overall conversation. I'm going to ask you three things today, three that we're going to focus on. One is this question, but the other two we've talked about before within our own group. And this goes back to the conversation of what I was saying from that meeting. Just what you said, Fozzie, it's like you have this group of people that want to solve a problem and they don't know how. And then you have a group of people that want to solve the problem for maybe the wrong reason or a disingenuous reason. And then it gives the rest of the industry a poor reputation. And then you have people that have come together. I mean, major corporations, right? Couple of just, and these are not sponsors. These are just factually accurate. Garrett, the metal detector company. I mean, what better people? They wouldn't be anywhere else. They could go anywhere, but they wouldn't be anywhere else. Brecourts, or they say it's pronounced Brecourt Solutions, by the way. I always correct them and say they say it wrong. It's Brecourt in my mind. But Brecourt Solutions drone as a first responder. I mean, that tech is so cutting edge. It's about 3 years ahead of its time. And yet here it is in today's world. And then you have, other companies, Safeware, that they're out there not just selling and reselling, but actually providing solutions. And I think those are exceptional partners to have. Those are the people you want to align with. The Imrons out there, where it's, when I want to do something because I have to. And I wanted to bring that back to the conversation in Houston, that when I had this open mic conversation on LinkedIn, I was floored at the hunger that other people out there that teach active shooter response usually were like, please host another one of these sooner, better. Can we do it on LinkedIn Live? Can we get an audience bigger? And I think we had 400 or 500 people. So think about that. There's 330 million people in the country, and we think we're, rocking the world because we have so many people in our group. We have it's a microcosm. And you guys are like leading it. And I look in awe. So Olivia, to you, when adults talk about safety, right? And I say adults, so forgive me because you are an adult now, right? You're there. But as a girl dad, you're not. So there you have it. When adults talk about safety, tell the audience, and really for me too, because I've never asked you this, what do you think we get wrong?
I think the biggest thing we get wrong with safety is assuming like the wrong things. Either assuming that things are meant to be the way they are and this is the safest we can be, or assuming that we already have the correct measures in place and these issues are still going on, but still thinking that this is like the most secure we can be. I think those are the two biggest issues, is that those assumptions. Because the issue with those is that it prevents possible growth, and I'm a huge person on growth and development. Any improvement where we can do it is obviously needed. And when you assume something, you're setting a limit, you're setting a cap on how far you can take safety, because whether you assume that it can't grow or whether you assume it's grown enough still prevents, that room for improvement, that room for us to become more safe, more secure. And I feel like a lot of people have kind of just accepted the idea that, okay, we're just going to have active shooters, or these things are still going to happen in schools and workplaces. And what's more concerning to me is that people are thinking this is normal now. This is just, oh, we're doing an active shooter drill. When I go to school, we actually did an active shooter drill like a few months ago. And they're like, okay, everyone, you know the drill. And so kids would just go under the tables, not think much of it, because this is practice. This is just regular things that we do now. And I feel like that in itself is a little concerning, because this shouldn't be something normal that's like day-to-day life or everyday practice. And thinking about these things or thinking there's nothing we can do about it also shouldn't be normalized. And I feel like if we want to have a safer world, we should first address the issue that, one, no, we should not live like this. This should not be expected of the living conditions. And two, yes, there's always a solution. Every problem has at least a million different solutions, and there's not one that's not intangible by us. And if we spend enough time, if we get enough heads together, there's definitely at least one solution that we can all come up with to, make our world safer.
On that, when you said they duck under tables, let's get a 30-second answer. What do you think about that?
I think it's the most ineffective thing. They tell us to just close the doors, close the blinds, turn off the lights, go under the table, they'll never know you're there. And I'm like, I'm not sure about that, because they're making us sitting ducks. It completely ignores, I think, the most effective thing that they tell kids now, which is run, hide, fight. They're just telling us to sit still in a room, and some of the doors don't even lock in our school. So to sit still in a room, and if the shooter comes in, what are you going to do? I feel like it's the most ineffective measure, but that's what they have us do.
I mean this in the most loving heart possible, but I'm sorry I ask that question sometimes, right? I ask questions and I don't know the answer to. I wish I was a lawyer because, the first rule of being a lawyer is never ask a question you don't know the answer to. But, she's a genius and you listen to this and I'm like, well, wow, I learned something just now. But more importantly, it's heartbreaking because what she just said is so genuine from the heart and raw. It's, not pre-positioned in the head to say, oh yeah, I'm going to tell you about what happens with if it works or not. So I'm so grateful about that. But while we're on that topic about when adults talk about safety, what do you think we get wrong? I sure want to hear from Dad for a minute. I asked him a question at it was either MetLife or AT&T Stadium, and I said, Imran, in fact, I think it started in Houston. It was a carryover conversation, and I said, when Olivia tells you all the great things in schools that can do to stop these things from robots to drones, I was excited. I'm like, oh yeah, robots and drones, we're going to be good. And you immediately hit the brakes and said other direction, which shocked me. Could you tell us? And obviously I live in this land, like, oh, we could do that. But you live in the reality side. So from the reality point of view, tell me all the good reasons that I'm wrong.
I mean, you always have to look at things from both perspectives. So, I mean, obviously, technology has several benefits. I mean, I love technology, but then also I can see the negatives of it. And it just needs a lot of careful thought and strategy before being deployed. As exciting as it is, and especially with AI, we have to be especially careful with AI. I think agentic AI is the new buzzword in our security industry. I saw that come up on the mega trends for 2026. And, now you've got the system to where, okay, it's going to program itself. It's going to learn based on what's going on, taking, that supervision out, that human intervention. So I think we just have to be a little careful there.
You know what? You keep me grounded, my brother. So thank you so much. Because I was like in La La Land one day when I said, in fact, it was in Houston again, where you guys were on the video. And I said, hey, Olivia, what do you think about this? And she's like, oh, it's the coolest thing ever, right? Robots and drones. And then somebody from Breakcourt, I think it was Nate, asked, what are your thoughts about that? And she just went far off to the side of it's good because there's a solution that works. And, the odd thing, if you haven't figured out as a guest yet, Olivia doesn't just think about these things and spit out the answer. I think she knows them inherently now, and she's been to all the summits that we've spoke at, and not just me, but all the security professionals that have been there, the tech people, the industry leading experts in all different disciplines, the heroes of the world and the founders, Jin Kim and Catherine Schweit, and the people that are out there that really know their stuff from the FBI side and the early adopters of this. The answers are qualified. They're not just emotional. And everyone who does listen to me knows one thing. I only speak from a basis of fact. I don't involve emotions or opinions in 90% of, probably 95% of what I say, because you always have an emotional slant towards it, where mine is, look, it works to solve. But there's that 5% sometimes that could go off to the side and say, well, I didn't think about this all the way through. So this is a really good grounding for me. I love it. And it brings me to the thought of like from a research perspective, where to the good doctor, where are we leaving out? Where are we not researching, and where are we ahead of our skis, and maybe where are we behind a little bit? Do you have a quick thought on that at all, or would you want to give it a minute?
Uh, for research, in terms of security, I think there's so many companies that are out there that are looking into different aspects, right, of security. And in terms of research, it's more about, for me, it's more about application now, right? Like, we can research and research and research, but you have to apply that knowledge. and we have to start applying all the knowledge that's out there. I think fundamentally we can do that. People just need to be aware of it. I think there's an awareness that needs to be created, and I think these platforms are creating that level of awareness. If more people know about it, oh, I didn't know that this was available. I didn't know I can do this. I didn't know I can do that. I think that truly is it's more solution based, and I think it's more in the application and the practicality of things, right? So I think that needs to be thought of more than the research aspect of it.
I totally agree with you because you get out there and you see something and sometimes you're enamored by it. Like the technology looks so good, it's so cool. Um, where I admire, Imran's vision for Imron Corporation. It's such a solution, it's universal. And it's almost to the point where people, I don't know, and you said 1997, right, Imran? Like,
Hmm.
could you imagine biometrics back then, what we have today, and people look at you and say, hey, one day you'll be able to walk up to a door and it'll open? They would have looked at you like crazy. And now it's expected. Why don't you have facial recognition?
Right.
That type of cool thing, but they don't think about the other side of it. And I think the research point to that was hit on perfectly is when you have the application of something that's going and we just have the good idea fairy coming out of Chris's head that says, hey, I know, we'll do facial recognition and we'll go into the stadium. It's going to be cool. Without the proper gated channels, without the appropriate vendors that are in it for the right reason to, it's more than a solution. It's more than a good idea. It's actually for the betterment of tomorrow. And I can't say everyone knows. I mean, I live for that. I seek that. I interview, we have, I wish Glenn was here. Actually, no, I don't. For this conversation, I'm glad Glenn's not here. And I hope he's listening to this portion. That we always get each other once during every speech. Um, Glenn can tell you that the amount of people, the volume of people that knock on our door, proverbial knock on our door, to come into the active shooter prevention project is probably at a tempo of 5 a day. We used to be one a year. Now we're 5 a day. People want to join. People want to be a part. And after a couple basic questions, you have to shut most of them out. So we've been very selective. And I do believe that we've done a good job at bringing credible information to the people that are going to come in and vetting them as part of an appropriate solution. And I know that you guys have heard me call you before and say, hey, look, this country called me. By the way, they called back and said they want this holistic vision. And I laid out my P.R.O model and they said, oh my gosh, that's great, but these are not providers for us and we have to go to the State Department. Okay, well, cool. What's stopping us? And that gets me to this point right here before I ask Olivia question number 2. Everybody has a good idea who's in business until they try to sell it. That's like a mantra I've realized. And then when they try to sell it and they find out there's a market or a need for it, they figure out the way they're going to go to market and they're going to find out the customer's needs and they're going to adjust to it. And somewhere along the line, sometimes that, not to say credibility, but the authenticity of the idea is lost somewhere, right? There's some disconnect somewhere. I've suffered it. I know you've suffered it. We're human. We can only learn by mistakes and be better tomorrow. And I think we've gotten to the place now where we know who's really on that path forward. So when we say, what mistakes are we making, from an adult's perspective to a kid's perspective, I mean that with all due respect, help me get better to what I don't know and help me think like you are, because you are the future. And if we don't take a look back, we're never going to know what tomorrow's going to bring because you are tomorrow. And there's so many people that are quick to criticize. And I don't mean me. I could care less what people say about me. Other people like, hey, you're in this arena. And if your access control only did this, well, last time I checked, you're like one of 7 or 9 people in the whole world that offer this one thing. So, when you grow up to that, hit me up. We'll talk more. Right? If I was Imron's corporation, I'm not, but that's what I would say. So that's why I'm not. But it's people like to criticize the person in the arena and they never get in the arena. And that is what is so cool for me to see Olivia either up on stage at the events, and we're going to talk about those in a minute, but she's not afraid to jump in and go for it. So obviously she learned that from you too. I think that's amazing. I've seen her interact almost in every venue. I haven't been to one of her famous debates yet, but every other events, and from social sides to large crowds, etc. And it's like there's not a moment she can't handle, and that's the confidence, because it's not, it's a gift, but it's also confidence, and she's comfortable enough to know what she doesn't know and what she doesn't know. And hell, I don't know what I don't know, right? I don't even know what I do know sometimes, right? I tell people, oh my gosh, I don't know, when they go find that out. And I'm like, oh, of course I knew that. So to me, this whole thing is awesome. And that's why I want to know, when you got up on stage the first time and I handed you that mic, how did you determine what you thought people wanted to hear?
Ooh, that's a good question. So,
Thank
for
you.
me in general, when I speak, I primarily focus on, well, what is the message I'm trying to deliver when I talk? Like, what is the main idea of why I'm speaking here in front of everyone? Because when you're speaking here, you want to make sure that what you say is worth the audience's time. Otherwise, they're not going to pay attention, they're not going to care. So why are they here? They're here to learn about safety. What do they care about? How to prevent active shooters. And then what kind of information and knowledge do they want to walk away with from what I'm going to say and from the summit? And so I take that into consideration. I say, okay, well, when coming up with a solution, you want to have a lot of perspective. So maybe I'll give my perspective. Maybe I'll give, what's currently not working so we can address, okay, here's what we shouldn't do. Here's a perspective. And then obviously many more perspectives will come in. And now here's a possible tangible plan or solution. But I just want to do my part and, share my perspective. And especially because I'm in school right now, and, we've done drills and we've done these things, and teachers will occasionally talk about it. And I want to say, okay, what is something important or useful that I can bring to the table? So that is my main thought process when I speak.
Were you nervous the first time you came on stage?
No, I was like, I loved attention when I was little. I'd love to willingly go up on stage. I really like giving presentations. That's why I'm in debate. I really like to give public speeches because I feel like I then can spread more information, helpful information to people, and I feel like it's a great way of um, I feel very connected to the audience by the end of it. And it feels good to know that there's so many people that care about the same thing as me and then sharing my perspective of it with other people. There's something really nice about that.
Ooh, proud for you, boys. Dang. Um, Imran and Fawzia, we had Hannah on, who's our executive intern, and she has a degree in from home, with Homeland Security and Terrorism, a master's degree. And I had her on, I don't remember, been a few weeks, maybe longer. And she was talking about her experience with Parkland. And I try not to go down that road because I'm obviously still the expert witness there for, I think, state and federal. I got to remember which cases they are. It's been going on forever. Um, and it's been so hard for me to deal with that case. And then she called and said, hey, I saw you on fill in the blank, and I just want to help. And her too, right? I tell her all the time, like, hey, as a girl dad, I'm going to protect you. No one's going to call you, because everybody wants to, I call it touch the magic, right? And it's like what I've said about Olivia. They're going to call and they're going to say, hey, I wanted to represent my company with a big sign and say, let me tell you about this. And she's a great speaker for that. But at the same time, the protection level comes in as a dad, where I'm like, I don't want to exploit it, but at the same time, that's such a powerful message, you can't bridle it. So that risk versus reward thing, I think you guys have got it down, and you should probably write a book about it. So that's back to you, good doctor, because you challenged me to write a book and I said no. So this is what it feels like when somebody tells you should write a book. Okay. In the spirit of all beautiful. But serious though, you guys have got this balance down that the world needs to understand better because they don't. And it's so commendable, and I respect you guys so much for it. And I appreciate it. I want to ask one last question of Olivia, and then we're going to go back to the summits. And I hope you guys can think about it because I'll ask your opinion as well. But for her to kick off, to you at 14 looking forward, what does a safer future look like?
I think that's a really impactful question. Safety looking forward, would probably, I mean, obviously there's no such thing as perfect and there's no such thing as reaching the end destination, but at least improvement in safety, I would first like to see people worrying less about I think, like, I guess this is a bare minimum requirement, but worrying less about, maybe just taking a walk or going to work or going to school, not having to have that fear of, is there going to be an active shooter, or am I going to be safe, or should more people come with me, or things like that. I feel like that would be just a bare minimum of wherever you're walking, just to feel safe and to not have to worry about that. You should be worrying about whatever your plans are for that day, whatever work you have to get done, family or friends you're seeing, not, am I safe? I think that would be the biggest thing. And then the second thing would be constantly improving. I feel like we're at somewhat of a standstill right now where the improvement, it started going up, and now we're kind of in this flat line and trying to avoid these kinds of areas where we're kind of in this middle area where nothing's really improving, nothing's really downgrading, but constant improvement, constant new ideas. And I think one reason why we're still in this kind of not productive area is because people are afraid. In general, as humans, we're always afraid of change. And we'd rather accept reality as it is than work towards a change, because change is new, change is scary, and our brains are programmed to not like new and scary things. But I think if we can somehow overcome that for the betterment of society and, like you said, a safer world, I think that would be a huge factor in how we can create a safer future.
Okay. I'm going to mess up my own rhythm here, but that's okay. You guys I'll give you the question again, but Olivia, we're going to do something unique. Ruben, we're at 54:37 and 107:17 in 30 seconds, Olivia, or less. So that probably means up to 45 seconds. It doesn't matter. Succinctly, do you think, with everything you've learned, and I want you to be totally honest, no anything, right? Do you think, here we go. So here's the question. Olivia, do you think that if a fire broke out your school, you would know what to do and the kids would be safely evacuated and no loss of life? 30 seconds, go.
I don't think I'd be able to save everyone in the entire school. I mean, one, I'm only one person, and two, I don't have the ability to prevent people from having that fight or flight instinct of just running in panic. I can't slow down everyone's heartbeat. I can't evacuate everyone, but the people that I'm near who I can help, I would, and then hope that they could spread the word to as many people as possible. But I don't think that just one person alone could evacuate a school of over 900 kids.
Okay. We're gonna scratch that one. We're gonna try one more time with a different answer because it's very genuine. That was a perfect answer, and I'll probably put them both up. I don't care. Because everybody knows, do you know how, let me ask you guys, Imran, do you know why the theme of this podcast is authenticity and vulnerability? Have I ever told you?
No.
When we started the podcast 2.5 years ago, I looked up the most researched word of 2023, and it was authenticity. And we were talking that day about being vulnerable enough. Who's stupid enough to start a podcast like me that would just start a podcast for no reason, with no script, with nobody, just having a conversation and get it out to so many people and have a theme? Well, you're looking at the guy that did it, and it's one of those things. But yeah, so that transparency, though, Olivia, is so perfect for the theme of our podcast. I want to ask in a different way, and it's almost a different question. So in again a 30-second clip, if a fire broke out at your school, like the burning building, and all the mechanisms that are in place, tell me three of them, three mechanisms like sprinklers, fire alarm, whatever, and you can even repeat them. Do you feel like everybody would be equipped to take care of it because it's almost intuitive now? So the
Yeah.
question is, if a fire started burning in the school, do you feel that the mechanisms in place would save the kids inside?
Absolutely. I mean, we haven't lost a kid in a fire for over 70 plus years now. And that shows how effective our drills are because we have a fire alarm, we have sprinklers, we have several emergency exit plans. I think there's like at least one or two posters in every single classroom. Uh, and we do fire drills at least once or twice every few months. And kids are very familiar with, okay, this is where we meet up. You know, this is how we take attendance. Someone gets the emergency bag, and everyone handles it very calmly because the drill is so effective.
Beautiful. Rubber stamp that one, Ruben. That's the perfect clip for you. And I mean that this whole thing's going to be, posted. We don't, I try not to cut anything out. I want the audience to see the whole thing transparently because we see so many fake things on social media. You think somebody's living their life this way and they're really not. Or you watch podcasts that are so overly edited. I mean, I have a chair misplaced in my office. I've got something on the wall that's crooked. I could care less, right? I used to have OCD pretty bad, but now I don't care because I want people to know, like, hey, this is real life. These are real people, and this is a real, you know, off the cuff interview because this is what people talk about, and then they fire and forget, and they go to McDonald's and order their next meal. And something you said that's so important, we focus on it at times of the year and then we lose focus. And I think that time is when we have an active shooter and the news media starts calling me, and my view on that. I don't do too many news interviews anymore. I used to do them all, but now I don't do too many because I think they wanted to capitalize on it. And it's like only the flavor of the hour and then it moves on. So I asked the story about the fire for this reason. Our P.R.O model, prevention, response, and options, is made up of a whole host of solutions. And it's our position, if we have at least four out of those 17 solutions, the school or business or bank or office building can be as active shooter resistant as it is fire resistant. And I think that we're trying to curb the mindset to where it's okay to talk about active shooters the way we talk about fires. And you just summed it up perfectly, where it's like, hey, we've inoculated everybody. It's okay. Do you think, another question, Olivia, do you think if we incorporated the proper access control with lockdown, the proper computer analytics for computer vision for like weapons detection, some type of magnetometer like a Garrett metal detector or whatever, and a gunshot detection system, and then the means to distribute all that, would you feel that your location is more secure and you would be less worried of something going wrong? Or do you think it would be always one more thing that you would need? Or do you think that it's pretty good the way that I've just described? If we could get every location to have four or five things, would that make the world a better place?
I mean, I think it would put a lot of reassurance in a lot of people. But then on the contrary, I would say, why do we have to put in all these measures in the first place? You know, is there a way where we can address the root solution instead of addressing it while they're already on campus? So I think it's like a double-edged sword, but I do think that for most people it would provide that assurance, at least when they're on that campus or when they're in their workplace, that they would feel safe inside the building.
I mean, you guys, you're knocking me over. Every day she's smarter than 10 times. And it's like she is agentic AI, right? That's the new buzzword you say. That's so true. And that we say that to everybody, Olivia, and I'm not, and to the audience is who I'm talking to really, but we do tell everyone while we are, solution-based industry, because that's what the industry is, we wish we didn't have to exist. And the sooner we can get out of business, the sooner the world's going to be better. And when we get to the root problems, that's where people like your mom with the PhD that can do the appropriate research, and I mean this genuinely, I can't. I have a master's degree and I studied the phenomena of it. I'm no closer to solving that problem than anybody at any federal agency. Um, and sometimes we have breakthrough moments and sometimes we don't. And I think that where we're at right now, we're on a prevention breakthrough. And the part of the core of the research question, Fawzia, was if we do have somebody that comes up with a miracle cure to, I don't know, we figured out a way to stop fires from taking the lives of people, but we haven't figured out a way to have places stop burning. And
Hmm.
I think that the reality as a parent, right, and as an adult, I hate to say that, right, but as a parent, we have to look at both sides of that. Do you think that's fair? As a mom and even a fixture in the community of prevention and access control?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Imran had mentioned perspective, right? There's many perspectives, and just focusing on one is not going to be helpful. It is going back to the word that we've used several times now, holistic approach. So, do have to, anytime there's a problem, it requires looking at it from many angles. And those angles then kind of open up possibilities of resolving these issues by looking at it differently. So, yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Imran, you got any 2 cents to add in, or do you want to answer this question, or do you not want to be shown up by your daughter? Because I'm going to tell you, she
Oh, I
has
know.
a better answer than anything that you could do. I can tell you that, right? I know you well enough. She's already surpassed your answer. But I'll go ahead and let you get a run at it of, you know, do you think, what was the question I asked you that was so good? Uh, do you think we're making a difference and is it becoming easier?
Definitely, definitely. I think you are. You asked her another question about, I guess, what does sort of that ideal, what are we working towards?
What does a
And
safer future look like? Yes.
yes, and growing up in Southern California in the 80s, I didn't have to worry about all these safety issues. I was just thinking about my childhood and how it compares to Olivia's childhood, and they are totally different. Even though we're growing up in the same place, and she's going through a lot more challenges that I was completely oblivious to. I didn't have to worry about that. And security and safety play a major role in that. Even like the airport. You go into the airport, you got TSA and security lines. We didn't have to do that in the 70s and 80s. Um, and that just shows how much the world has changed just over the last, 40 years. So I guess I'm working towards my childhood era as sort of that ideal. I'm wondering what happened to the world to where it's changed so much.
Do you know that this is no joke? I said something so similar to that. And I told, we're was having a conversation and I was showing a picture. I don't have many childhood pictures, but I have a picture. I'm 9 years old or maybe 8 years old. I've got my hair down. My mom kept my hair very long, total California surfer kid. And I'm in a three-piece suit because we have to fly to New York. And
Oh,
back in the
you
day, remember you dressed up to
had to
fly
dress up, yeah,
and everyone would get a meal. And then the joke came, yeah, they also smoked on planes. So
yeah,
somebody said this to me. And everybody knows I'm a goofball. I fought back. I didn't fight back. I shot back and I'm like, so what you're saying is we need to start smoking on airplanes again and all these problems will go away because, we were flying around in a cancer tin box, getting secondhand smoke and lung disease. And, the world was almost a better place. I just remember hard times, good times and bad times, but boy, you're right. Having that safe environment where I was on the shooting team in junior high, and you know my story. I ran away from home at 14 and dropped out in eighth grade. I think the last grade I actually attended the whole year of was fifth grade. Sixth grade, I ditched a lot. Seventh grade, I only went to two classes, horticulture, because I learned how to draw. And I can't draw a straight line, but I learned about, I wanted to be like architectural drawing. And I went to the shooting team and I went after school. I carried my gun from home across the street in Reseda, California, Reseda High, and went to the shooting team. And we shot a 22 at matches every Saturday alone. I walked from home to school, took a bus with my gun, and went in competition shooting. If that's not a different world. Now, I'm not saying that's the right world. I'm saying that's a different world.
Yeah, yeah. That just shows you how much we've changed over the years. I mean, that was a completely normal thing to do back then, and now it's got red flags all over it.
Yeah. Well, now you look at me and wonder, oh, yeah, that's what's wrong with him. Okay, let's wrap it up. Do any of you need a break really quick? Are you good? We want to go for 5 more minutes, 6 more minutes and wrap up
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine.
across the board. Ruben, chime in, buddy. Off camera, on camera.
No, I'm still
on
here.
camera,
I'm still
on
here.
camera, on camera.
No, on
You can
camera.
do it.
Oh man,
Hey, look at Ruben.
I'm still here.
The executive producer.
Yes, there we go. Oh my God, I messaged something to Chris a second ago. I don't know if you saw the message, Chris.
Probably eating tortilla chips right now, yelling at me is what I think.
No, not at all. I want to say something like I was in. You see
Do
it
it.
now?
Say it. Say it. Say it.
I will in a second because the main thing here is I was not expecting this from somebody your age, right? I think when I was gonna go back, I'm gonna go back in school, and I had a speech class, and a teacher was basically putting us on the spot. It was one of those like, and here's a topic and go question, In my head, it sounded smart. At no point during my incoherent whatever thought process I was putting together out there did my thoughts connect, shake hands, or anything, right? I think everybody in that class was just one of those like, yeah, they looked at me like, what are you talking, where are you going with this? I couldn't find the exit. And whenever Chris asked you that question, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And oh my gosh, you're an incredible speaker. And it's one of those things where I think there's always a lot of things from like my father, like Chris knows a little bit about my family. They added so much pressure on me, right? Like do it, do it, do it. I don't see that in you, right? It's just one of those things of like you're just naturally talented at that. And I was telling Chris, I sent him a message. I was like, she's in a completely different race. She's way out there. I thought I was somewhere. No, it's anyway. I'm impressed by it, and I'm just, I'm very proud of the fact that people your age, the new generation is coming out, and they're in tune as to everything that's going on, right? And I think it's getting to the point where even Jackie, Chris was talking about it earlier. She's 17, and she's also in tune as to like this isn't normal, right? Something has to give, and you're starting to see that more and more from kids at school. Like they're not happy with where we're going in terms of the solutions, and they look at us adults and they're like, "Hey, do something." And like Chris was saying in the beginning, some people want it for the money, other people want to help, and in the middle of it, no one's talking to each other, and everyone has their own opinions. But the facts are, people are dying, and someone has to put a stop to it. Um, but I just love the answers, and I love the way that you have something there, and it's like no one has to coach you on it. It's just there. You know what I mean? Um, but anyway, that's what I sent to Chris, that message of
Let
she's
me tell you something.
way out there.
Let me tell you something. So Ruben and I go way back, but let me just tell you this. I've only seen Ruben get emotional 3 times. And I have no room to talk because I think you might have all have seen me cry on stage before on accident. Because if I start talking about kids and shootings and stuff, it's waterworks. I don't care. It's who I am. And I'm comfortable with that, right? You survive as much stuff as I have. You're like, I am who I am and nobody's going to change it. But I watched Ruben get emotional and cry right along with me when we interviewed Hannah. And he's like, I don't know if we can do this anymore, man. And then he came back stronger. We're going to do this twice as much. And then we had an interview we did with Patrice, who incidentally and coincidentally, Imran, I met at your summit.
Yep, I remember her.
And yes, and she was a hostage during a crisis and end up in the room alone with this person. I got chills thinking about it. And Ruben is texting me, goes, "Don't do it again. Like, don't make me cry." And I'm watching him talk about Olivia getting emotional. I'm like, boy, me too, buddy. Me too. So hey, I'm thankful for you, Ruben. Thank you so much. And stay on, man. We'll wrap it up together because I want to give a huge plug, shout out another. When I give a lot of credit to a lot of people because I don't take any of it. But I will tell you guys, without you, without the caliber of your guidance, because you really do provide great guidance when I call you. Um, and sometimes you call me for advice, which I think something's wrong with you for calling me for anything. But without you, we wouldn't be where we are. And I genuinely mean that, right? I tell the guests where they fit and where they fall and how it goes, but some are just in tune a little bit different. Right there, like Ruben said, they're running a different race, and I think Olivia's in a different race than all of us. I think I'd know I'd be prouder of. There's no way I could be more proud than you guys are, her parents, but I'm proud for you that you're proud of her, and I think that we are honored to have her and the guests to hear her and the opportunity to hear and see her that she's getting from us and we're getting from her. And when I say that she's getting from us, I just mean the platform. There's nothing that we could give to her that she doesn't have that, we're not learning. So, with that said, we have been to, I'm using my memory here, Indianapolis for the Colts, Dallas, Texas for the Cowboys. Even huge Eagles fan. Thank you so much, even though it's a bad year. Um, I even wore my Eagles jersey speaking at Dallas Stadium, Cowboy
Yeah.
Stadium. Thank you so much. That's why I love you for that opportunity, by the way. Um, then I think we went on to
SoFi.
SoFi. Then we went
And
on to
and
MetLife.
I'll mention the Eagles had just knocked the Rams out of the playoffs the week before we had our summit, and you wore your Eagles jersey at SoFi Stadium. So,
Just
and
saying, yeah,
I don't really understand this. You grew up in Southern California. Why are you an Eagles fan?
it's a long story, but I'm going to tell you after this. No, I'll tell you right now. I don't care. I am more of a player fan than I'm a teams fan. And when I grew up, I had oh my gosh, I've never said this before, and you could see it stopping coming out of my mouth, but this is part of Chris Grollnek's life. I'm going to tell you. I came from a very wealthy family on my father's side, and I didn't see them after I was like 4 or 5 years old. So it's not like it, we grew up in generational wealth, but they were huge in the garment industry, and they lived in Cheviot Hills, which is a private community in Beverly Hills. So it's like exclusive. And this is back in the day, so I don't know what it's like now. But back in the day, Cheviot Hills had like 40 houses. Beverly Hills was like, oh, so um and you came out Motor Avenue and went up to I think Hollywood, and Fox Studios was right there at the top. The Apple Pan, Fox Studios, Musso Franks, and a couple other high-end like Pacific Dining car. They were all right there originally. And the Rams head office was right there.
Mhm.
And next door was the Raiders. And the Raiders left. And then the Rams left. And then somebody came back and somebody left. I don't even, it was like whiplash. I don't remember. But I did see my dad a few times after that, like weird weekends, here, there, and everywhere. And we'd go to his parents' house in Cheviot Hills, and the Rams were there, and then they weren't, and something just like blurred my vision there. So I didn't really get into football. I was a huge basketball fan, and then of course my daughter played, and I started following football again about 20 years ago, and I found out the players were more thrilling than the teams. Teams are money generated. The players, like, yeah, they're hungry, but they want to win. And when I learned that saying about 10 years ago, if I told you you could win a Super Bowl, what would you trade? And some people say, you've heard me tell people this, I'll do anything. Oh, really? Well, your definition of anything and my definition of anything is quite different, I'm certain, because you're not going to give up your 365 days a year and 16 hours a day to be behind a computer talking to an invisible audience. And I am, because I'm going to Destination Never Here. That this is, I will do anything to get there and everything. And Jalen Hurts is like the epitome of a professional. He, in my eyes, I watched him play, both at Alabama, the only freshman starting quarterback for Nick Saban ever. Number one, that says a lot. Then he goes on to Oklahoma, but the way he, with grace and dignity, was sat down, stood up, and then stood in and then left, he doesn't talk about that. And I respect that. He doesn't do mattress commercials for Mattress Firm And when he's asked why, he says, because I'm an NFL quarterback. And he doesn't promote videos. And when asked why, he says, because I'm an NFL quarterback. And when his persona is who he is. And an NFL quarterback does not define Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts should define what an NFL quarterback is. And I love that kid. Like, it would be a dream to meet him because I think the conversation would just be different. Kind of like talking to your bride. Literally, like you learn something every time you sit down, just have that first, hey, how are you? And you're like, oh, whew. Talk about a different race. I'm on a different planet. I wish I could keep up. So that's why. That's a long story, but that's a true story.
Okay.
So there we are, and we are at Cowboys. Then we went to SoFi, and then we went to MetLife, I think, was it
MetLife,
next?
New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think we went on to
Back to
AT&T.
Dallas. Yep.
Yep. And now we're on our way to Vegas.
Yes.
All right. And I'm going to wear my Super Bowl credentials at the next speech, by the way, because I worked that Super Bowl as
Okay.
the Super Bowl 58. I was the active shooter liaison to the feds and the local police agency in the security operations center there and the global operations center, GSOC, SOC, and then they had I can't say what else they had, but I was there. And I have a little picture of my laptop with all the sensors that we were monitoring for anything to go wrong.
Oh,
And
cool.
thankfully nothing did, but it was the Chiefs and the 49ers.
Yeah.
And watched the overtime. I got to go to the game, got to see a lot of it. And coincidentally enough, that's the first football game I'd ever been to in person, was the Super Bowl 58.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, kind of cool. So I don't know, just weird. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. But I want to tell the audience, right? Come see one of these summits. Come see one of these seminars. Don't come watch me speak. Come watch Olivia speak. Come watch the other presenters. They have a wild panel set up that is so smart and knows so many things. And the way they share the knowledge is genuine. It's not just come buy my product. It's for a better tomorrow. And I really think that we should change the theme, but I'm not marketing anything. So, but for a better tomorrow, right? You have NFL buy-in at a level of you got to use the stadiums. I mean, yeah, there's a rental involved and it's a business, but think of the draw that you would have if you went to the Wax Museum versus an NFL stadium. I mean, and remind me again, how much does it cost to come to an Imron Security Summit?
Bureau.
$0. Yeah,
That's
he
right.
went he went ghost mode on us. It was like how much it's invisible,
That's right.
$0. That's right. And you feed everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Free
And
lunch, stadium tour.
there you go. Yeah. And there's like more than one opportunity to get a stadium tour.
Yeah.
Can you walk on the field?
Yeah. Sure.
Are we doing a touchdown dance competition this time? Or
We are, and I heard you've been practicing.
I have been.
Okay.
If I don't win, the fix is in. It's against me. Just let you know that right now. I have high expectations of in fact, we're only having this podcast so I can win the touchdown celebration. Yeah, no, I probably won't compete again. I'm going to be in my own little corner and world and saying, yeah, no, maybe tomorrow. I'm no Justin Jefferson, right? Love that kid too. All right, so tell us about the summit, Imran. I get my ticket. How do I do it?
You register online. Just go to imron.com/security. Click the green button. You can register as many people as you want. The summit it's on February 24th, which is a Tuesday at Allegiant Stadium. Parking is free. Attendance is free. We'll be serving lunch from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock. We've got speaker sessions. We have manufacturers. We have, I believe, 30 manufacturers who will be showing live demonstrations of their product. We have the nation's leading expert on active shooter mitigation, Chris Grollnek, speaking. So, yeah, I think it would be a great event for anyone to attend.
We're going to drop that link to register in the bottom here, and we'll release it on some of the social short releases before we do the whole podcast live. It probably going to be a tight window to get people into Vegas, but all the Vegas people listening, and for all the socials, like let's record a quick 30-second one. Don't miss the Imron Security Safety Summit at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on what date, Imran?
February 24th.
Be there. It's free. Free lunch, free parking, stadium tour, free. Get to be on the field. You can participate in some touchdown celebration dances, and you'll hear a wide range of speeches and speakers. And you can get some great information from some products and some from great sponsors. You want to shout out any sponsors? Can you think of any off the top of your head?
Yeah, Garrett will be there. Garrett's a member
Garrett,
of the Active Shooter Prevention Project.
they
Uh,
are.
yeah, Altronics is a platinum partner
Yes.
this year,
Yes,
so they will be there. Security VIP, they're a podcast. They're building an experience center in right in your backyard in Texas,
they are.
so they
Yeah.
will be there.
Looking forward to that. And I know that we'll be there with the table giving away some stuff. And listen, if you're not there, you're square, but we want you there. And you're going to be seeing Olivia. She's going to be ditching school just to come. And she's obviously smarter than what she needs to be. So should be okay for the day. And listen, you guys, my family, I'm very grateful for you for being here today. Have I not asked you something that you really want to answer or that you wish I asked you? Do you have something you want to say that I haven't asked? Uh, you want to embarrass me in any way, shape, or form? You're welcome to. I bring it on. I welcome it.
Um,
I think you asked all the right questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to say, Chris, is we're very grateful for you. I mean, you do a lot for, and I mean, I don't think people realize the sacrifices you've made in making our world a safer place. So I really respect and admire everything that you've done.
Well, the feeling's mutual, bud, and I mean that genuinely. And people just don't know that as especially, I'm not going to say small business, but I don't think we're like JP Morgan Chase, but a small business like yours or ours where the kiddo comes home from school and they don't go home, they go to work and they learn, what you're doing and they're doing homework on the side and dinners at night with people like me that fly out just to say hello to you. And then we end up at a corporate dinner and then you're in New Jersey having dinner with 40 people and it's like you're on display. So, those sacrifices, believe me, they're recognized, they're seen, they're invisible to most because some people are just not self-aware. But man, I see them, and when I tell you the feelings mutual, that's just a few examples. Well, one more place I want to shout out: ISC West. Are you going to be there this year?
We're thinking about it. We probably will be there. Yeah, we normally go every year.
If not, you're attending though, right? One way or the other, or something, or maybe
Yeah, we
both.
have a few tech partners who will be showing our product. So,
Okay. Well, if you're out at ISC West, I encourage you to find Imran and family and get an autograph and take a picture because you know, I never knew, and I'm going to tell you this and we'll close. I never knew how goofy it was to take selfies, and I really want to tell you the story. I'm going to ask Olivia one last question, but like what you guys have even said it. Everybody I meet, I stop and take a picture with, and people say, "Chris, that is crazy." I said, "I know." I said, "Why do you do it?" I say, "I am not comfortable behind the camera." People don't believe me. But one thing that you do know about me that most people don't, I will not watch myself on TV. I will not see myself in pictures. I don't go back and look and say, oh, it's a great picture. I don't care. I won't look because I'm afraid that it's not going to be as authentic as it should be because I'll watch something or some twitch I have or whatever where it's like, or, glitch. Oh, I need to change that. Well, you change that, you change everything. So I try to stay as authentic as possible. But I saw this thing about 4 or 5 years ago. We were in Las Vegas at our very first active shooter prevention projects meeting. And I'm telling everybody about this new thing. Don't laugh at me, Olivia, because this is true. You had to be 9. You guys weren't there yet, but TikTok. And everyone threw stuff at me like, you're crazy. TikTok, it's goofy. It's for kids making dance videos. It's nothing. I said, okay. Well, I read this thing the other day in business. This is 5 years ago. And in fact, it was the year after that because it's when the Covenant shooting happened. And we had our meeting that day. And I was reading the demographics for TikTok. White men 40 to 55 were the number one growing phenomena of TikTok
wow.
in 2023. And then the metrics changed to Hispanic males, then it changed to black males, then it changed to all males ranged age 35 to 60. And then there was this new targeted demographic last year, which is like 50 to 57. I'm like, that hurts. That's me, you know? And I've had a TikTok account for a long time, but some of my videos have like 3 views. And I posted one last night. It's got today, it's 80 something thousand, 90 something thousand. Yeah,
Whoa.
weird, just weird.
Mhm.
And those you can't hide the numbers on. So yeah, it is what it is. But the reason I said that is, Olivia, if I told you, uh, or if I asked you, what's your favorite social media platform? What personally, maybe you don't want to say, maybe your parents don't know. No. What's your favorite social media platform?
So, I actually don't go on social media or use it really.
Good.
Um, I mean, the most social media I have is Instagram, but that's only to connect with my debate friends and my school friends. And they post pictures when on winter break, they'll post pictures of their trip. But as from that, I don't go on social media at all. Just Instagram, and that's about it.
I could cry. I'm so proud. Okay. Then let me ask you this. Your friends, what's their number one social media platform?
Their number one social media platform is probably TikTok.
So there you have it. TikTok is the most unique advertising method. And when people look at kids making dance videos 10 years ago when it first came out or however long ago it was, I remember my family joking with me, going, can you believe that? Who would do that? And I turned without missing a beat and said, I am so envious of those kids. They don't know to have an inhibition in the first place. But second, they're teaching themselves how to market better than any marketing agency. So now that was the impetus of like, I'm going to start taking pictures of people. I'm not comfortable doing it, but it looks like I am. And when you ask somebody to take a picture, it's like a genuine handshake these days. Like, and then they want to know, hey, are you going to post that? And people know how big my LinkedIn platform is ridiculously stupid.
Mhm.
But you get on there and all of a sudden, I like today I posted something this morning. It's 59,000 reviews. And I only know that because I get that end of day metric report. And I'm like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever put on LinkedIn. And it went as far as it went. So there's no rhyme or reason to the algorithm. So I just try to roll with it and have a good time. But I said all that because taking pictures is like one of my favorite things to do now because I don't have a lot from being a child and I want a lot to pass on. So I
Mm.
highly encourage it. Use TikTok, use Instagram. Don't be poisoned by it. Good for you, Olivia. I want to say thank you. Parting words to all of you. I will put on all the socials though. All our accounts, ASPP_pro for TikTok, Instagram, Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook too. And then our LinkedIn account is, of course, my name, Chris Grollnek. And then I think our YouTube is Chris Grollnek too. I have to look at that. But visit us across all socials. We don't sell or advertise on there. We just post for other people's benefits. And without you guys, we wouldn't be, we wouldn't have the benefit of posting. So thank you again. Good
Thank you.
luck.
Thank
Good
you.
night. And I will see you in Las Vegas.
All right.
Yes. Thank
Thanks, you
you.
guys.